Welcome to the Grant Writing Simplified podcast. This is the place to learn how to make a big impact in your community through grant writing and nonprofit consulting. The world needs you to step forward as a grant writer and use your skills to lead with confidence. I'm Teresa Huff, former special ed teacher turned grant writer and nonprofit strategist. In my 20 years of freelancing, I've helped nonprofits triple their funding and exponentially increase their reach. Now I'm stepping up to mentor freelancers and nonprofit leaders like you who are ready to take your skills to the next level. It's time to get intentional about your vision so you can create lasting change in your community. Learn the skills and strategies you need to become the grant writer the world needs. Let's do this. Hey friends, welcome back. We have had some incredible guest episodes lately, and I hope you'll take some time to listen to those. This week, though, I wanted to come back to a really basic grant writing concept. And this is something that has transformed my writing, but it's taken years to really get the hang of. And I never had anyone formally teach me this. I kind of had to figure it out over time. And that's why I want to tell you about it today. And that is shifting the way we write and the way we, first of all, think about the grant applications that we're putting together. But then that also transforms how we're conveying that to funders. And it makes all the difference in the world in how we sound and how it comes across and just the flat out readability of the application. And what I'm talking about is using positive action words in your writing. And I'll give you some examples. I don't want to call this active voice and passive voice because if you're like me and nobody formally taught you those concepts or went into detail of how this fits into grant writing, then it's kind of hard to wrap your head around and to figure out what it really means in concrete terms. So I like to call it positive action words. Now, back in episode 16, I talked a lot about how to write tight, and I gave you some examples there. And in the blog post that goes along with that, there's a chart side by side so that you can see how to really tighten up your writing. Partly that's for practical purposes because sometimes we have such strict word count limits or even character count limits on these applications that we have to write extremely tight. We have to make every word count and sometimes literally every character count. Do we really need that comma or can it go? Sometimes it has to go. But writing tight is a piece of it. And by learning that concept, it makes your writing better all around, not just for grants, but in emails, in letters you need to write, in posts, in donor appeals, all kinds of things. This concept of writing tight and then the positive action words that we're going to talk about today are so important and so foundational to becoming a better writer and a better communicator all around. Now, when I say use positive action words, I'll show you what I mean. For example, say I'm writing a grant application, we're asking for money, and I could say, if we were to receive these funds, we would be able to help 100 kids. Okay, if we were, we might, okay. How about if I said, with these funds, we will help 100 kids? See the difference? Saying something like, if we were to get the funding, instead of, with the funding, we will do this. You're painting a positive picture. It sounds much more confident. And essentially, you are casting the vision for the funder. If you pile in all the possible words you could use, they're going to miss the core message. So it's really important to chop out the words you don't need and clearly convey with the positive, actionable language by saying, with funding, we will do this, as opposed to being polite about it. If we were to get the funding, we would be able to, or we might be able to grow the program if we could only get the funds. That sounds like you're saying, maybe if you could, kind of, sort of. And that is not a positive way of conveying the request, a positive way of showing your action steps and what you're going to do with this program. So when you're using positive action words, watch out for words like would or could, if we were, or we might be able to, or we could be able to, things like that. Also, watch out for past tense words that are describing future actions. So like, if we had this funding, we would be able to. If we had this funding, that's kind of a past tense thing. That's a past tense way of putting it. It sounds like it already happened, but you're talking about something in the future. So see how that's a contradiction of saying, oh, if we had it, we would, or we could. Instead say, we will be able to, or with this project, we can blank. There are different ways to word it, but watch for that and see if you're using those past tense words to describe the future things that are happening. It's kind of the difference in sounding hopeful, like kind of, sort of, maybe it could happen, versus positive. With these funds, this is what we'll do. With the project, here's what it will look like. You're casting that vision with confidence and knowing that here is the plan. They don't want a kind of sort of plan. They don't want to, well, maybe we'll play it by ear and see how it goes if we get the money. They want to know, if you get these funds, here is how we're going to use it. Step by step, we've got it mapped out. We've almost been trained to talk that way because in emails, we don't want to come across as harsh. We want to be polite. So we say, would you be able to help me this Saturday? Or if you're free, we could use your help. Or could you come by if you had a few extra minutes? Instead of confident, that's so ingrained sometimes that we forget that's not how we need to talk in grant applications. We're making that shift. We work on this so much in the Fast Track to Grant Writer because it's such an integral shift in how we need to present the applications. In fact, the Fast Track alumni know if they ask me to look at something or review something, I'm probably going to end up chopping out words because I'm going to say, write tight. It's really good, but it needs to be tightened up. And sometimes they'll even say, oh, I thought it was tight. I had. It's like, it could always be tighter though. So think about this. There's always ways to polish and refine. And what do you really need in your writing to convey your point versus what kind of fluff can you get rid of? A nonprofit asked me to look over a grant application that they had submitted and they didn't get the award. And so they were wanting some feedback. And almost every time I can pinpoint this type of phrasing when I'm looking through grants that people have written, saying things like, we would be able to, or just this kind of messy, muddy type of writing that really hinders your message of what you're trying to get across. How can you convey this clearly? I've been designing some extra writing exercises in the Fast Track to Grant Writer. There are already a lot each week in the homework for each module, but I'm developing a whole new module specifically for this type of writing to help you really hone those skills and refine. And it's something that just over time, more and more practice will help you. It's like going to the gym. It takes time to build up these muscles, and it takes practice and repetition and getting more used to it. Now I can spot this kind of passive writing from a mile away. But at first, it really took me a while to get the hang of it. But once you start doing it and start recognizing it, you'll really see what a transformation it will make in your writing. So again, watch out where something is passive or using past tense to describe something that's going to happen, or that you're trying to cast this picture of what will happen with confidence, because you might be watering down your message and you might be diluting what you're trying to say in your request. If you are really looking to step up your grant writing game this year, the Fast Track to Grant Writer is ready and waiting for you. You can join us with this incredible group of people who are going through the program and the alumni. It's such a supportive group, and we have a lot of fun really working those muscles to make sure your writing is as good as it can be to help you get out there and make a difference in the world. Now, if you're kind of wondering about grant writing, go take my quiz. Do you have what it takes to be a grant writer? At teresahuff.com/quiz. See how it turns out. And then think about joining us on the Fast Track. I want to give a quick shout out again to Instrumental for sponsoring today's show and their support of grant writers and our work with their tremendous program and resources that they have. I want to wrap up with a challenge question for you. How is your writing, and what can you be doing to improve it? Go back and look through something that you've written lately, whether it's an email, a description of something, maybe a letter you wrote to someone, and look and see, did you use positive action words, or is there anywhere that you could polish that up to make it sound more positive and visionary and confident about your request? Go check that out with your writing, and then come back and let me know. Message me on LinkedIn or send me a message on my website contact form. I would love to support you in your grant writing journey. Have a great week and go change your world.